A very good afternoon to all IEM UEM family members. Today we are having Dr. Sibun Parida, Associate Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, University of Engineering and Management, Jaipur. He will be discussing comparative genomics approach to identify the molecular drivers in disease progressions. He has some technical glitches with his laptop camera, so excuse us for that. Dr. Sibun, it's over to you now. Kindly go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon, everyone. I am Sibun Parida, faculty in the CSE department. Before starting my talk, I would like to thank VC sir, Director sir, Dean sir, and HOD CSE department for giving this opportunity to share my research findings in front of you. So this is my outline. Today I'll discuss about the disease progression. Specifically, I will talk about cancer. Then the role of molecular drivers. I will speak about long RNA, some biological questions, and how I have addressed using computational strategies to address the problems. And I will summarize this talk. So the disease which I am going to discuss about is cancer. Now, what is cancer? Cancer occurs when cell in a part of the body begins to grow out of control. Now, why to study cancer? To eventually find a cure for the disease. So see here, as per American Cancer Society Cancer Statistics Report 2016, the mortality rate is rising proportionally. So, however, with so many different types of cancer affecting a variety of cells, the search for a cure is a complex process. Now, how does the cancer progress? With the help of some drivers. Here we have assumed that is RNA, that is ribonucleic acids, and with the help of central dogma and genomic regulations. Now, these are the hallmarks of cancer. All cancer exhibit many of these hallmarks, which leads to tumor growth. So to find a better cure, we should look at the different characteristics that are exhibited by cancer cells. So here in this talk, I'll focus upon this genomic instability and mutation, okay, which is an enabling characteristic that can result in multiple hallmarks. Now the question comes, how to differentiate these cancer cells from non-cancer cells? Because these are the characteristics of normal cells and the characteristic of cancer and cancer stem cells. So how we will differentiate between cancer cell and non-cancer cells? So mutation is a crucial thing which is responsible for uncontrolled growth. Which is responsible for uncontrolled growth in the cancer cells, whereas the cancer stem cells, which are more aggressive in nature and having distinct molecular profile, which is differentiating from cancer cells. Now, I'll talk about this the introduction, that is talk about central dogma, which is nothing but the information flow in a biological system. The biological information is transferred from DNA to RNA with the help of transcription, and with the help of translation, it results to the final product that is called protein. Now, the RNA world is broadly categorized into two different ways, that is long RNA and small RNA. Long RNAs are messenger RNA or mRNA or protein coding RNA. Long non-coding RNA having size greater than 200 nucleotides long, circular RNA, and small RNAs like microRNA, PB interacting RNA, tRNA, sRNA, all those things. So, though substantial effort has been made on the coding countering part, that is the mRNA, here I will focus more upon the long RNA, which are responsible for the genomic regulation in the eukaryotic system. So I have marked them as the molecular drivers. And now my focus is to study the role of molecular drivers, especially long RNAs, that is mRNA, lncRNA, and circular RNAs. Now the biological questions which I have identified, that how do we identify these molecular drivers? How do we explore the features of these molecular drivers? how do they function within a biological system. The strategies which I have adopted over here is to identification of molecular drivers. I have adopted shortest path approach to detect the molecular drivers, and I have used the optimization technique, resource utilization technique, to detect the reliable circular RNAs. For the work of LNC-RNA feature exploration, I have selected the features which guide the LNC-RNA targets, and the machine learning techniques have been used to identify the sensitive prediction of RNA interactions. Now, the first disease which I am discussing over here with my first work is ovarian cancer. So, nearly 225,000 new ovarian cancers are reported annually, and among them, 140,000 leads to the death. These are the symptoms of ovarian cancer, and here we can see that 70% of the patients are diagnosed at the advanced stage. That means early detection is a concern. So ovarian cancer is one of the most prevalent causes of cancer death in women, and ovarian cancer patients have poor prognosis with 5-year survival rate of 43.5%. Due to the late detection and chemo resistance, 63% of ovarian cancer patients diagnosed with metastasis and only have 5-year survival rate of 26.9%. Now, the specific focal points to be elicited from here is what are the molecular drivers that guide ovarian cancer progression through the stages of tumor development and malignancy? And can some of these RNA molecules act as biomarkers for early tumor detection? Now, see, this is the primary tumor, and this is the cancer stem cell, which is resistant to chemotherapy. We all know that cancer cells, when we go for chemotherapy, the cancer cells dead. But here in the case of stem cells, it is having the self-renewal property, and this becomes a new tumor which is similar to the primary tumor. Now the question over here is to identify the molecular drivers which distinguish between cancer cell with cancer stem cells. If we can identify the markers between cancer cell and two cancer stem cells, we can easily try to target these markers. Now the method which I have adopted over here is I have taken the data set. So this is the normal, so this is control, and I have two test cases, that is ovarian cancer cell and ovarian cancer stem cells. I have taken the data from gene expression omnibus. I have 26 samples for control and 29 samples for cancer cell and 10 samples for cancer stem cells. Now the workflow which I have designed after having this input data set, I have contacted to the string database, which is a well-known protein-protein interaction information source, and further screened down to only those interactions having confidence score greater than 500. As this is a microarray expression data, I have identified the differentially regulated gene set, okay, between the two tests, that is control 2 versus test 1 and control versus test 2. Further, I have used iGraph R package to calculate the shortest path between the two analyses, and then I have identified filtered the shortest path based on some criteria I will discuss, and then I have identified the common shortest path between two analyses, and I have introduced a concept of pivot gene which will further screen down to identify the markers. So from the global gene expression analysis, I have identified the differential regulated gene set, that is control versus test 1 and control versus test 2. That is 2,457 for test first analysis and 3,123 for second analysis. Then further I have identified what are the common DRGs present in both the system, that is present in cancer stem cell and as well as cancer cell. 1958 genes are there, such genes where we have identified such commonality. When we distributed over there, that some genes among this 1950 are commonly upregulated in both the system comparison, and few of them are commonly downregulated also. But the interesting thing is this 8% of gene which is upregulated in one analysis, that is in control versus test 1, it is upregulated, and downregulated in the another analysis, and vice versa. So this gives a clue that irrespective of significant gene expression overlapping among these two cell states, there is a difference between these which needs to be investigated further. Now the computational approach which I have used to solve this problem is shortest path technique. I have identified the shortest path between the cancer cell versus NM, that is 20 lakh shortest paths are there. Here 25 lakh shortest path there, then filtered the shortest path. So as I have already told that I have identified the DRGs, I have filtered the shortest path where all the nodes must be all the nodes present in here must be a DHG. Okay, then I have identified the common shortest path. So this is the pivot gene concept. So we know that when we have a shortest path, the source and targets are fixed. Suppose A is my source node and B is my target node, and E and H are intermediate nodes. So the gene interact, because the effect happens due to the gene interactions. So A is interacting with E, and E is interacting with H, and H is interacting with B to reach the target. But what happened at H, the node H or gene H, we can say at one analysis it is upregulated and another analysis it is downregulated, reported as downregulated. So up down, that is a contrasting pattern, which is 8% of these genes. Now why this occurs? This occurs due to the upstream gene interaction. Upstream gene who? That is E. So due to the interaction with E, the H expression is altered. So I have marked that E is my pivot gene, which is bringing change in the expression of these two cell states. So from this pivot gene finding analysis, I have identified 265 pivot genes. Further, after identifying, we have mapped with the reported ovarian cancer gene as well as stemness genes to see what are the similarity of our findings. From that, after literature minings, we have concluded that 17 such pivot transcription factors are there, which are considered as a molecular driver. Because why I'm transcription factor from pivot genes? Because transcription factor is having a crucial role in the genomic regulation. So we have contacted with the human transfect database, and then we have identified these 17 pivot transcription factors. Now, these are the list of 17 pivot transcription factors. So some of these pivot transcription factors are exclusively present in the CAC state. Some of them are present in CC state, and few of them are present in both the states. So our objective was to, if we can identify such genes, we can help give this to our molecular biologists. They can go for the validation and to check. And we have also identified that functionality analysis, which I have not kept over here. So the conclusion from this analysis is, with the help of computational approach, that is shortest path technique, and the pivot gene concept, we are capable to delineating these two cell states, that is cancer cell and cancer stem cell. So this work we have published in Genomics. Now that comes to the second work, that is identifying the LNCRNA mRNA target prediction. So LNCRNA is a non-coding RNA, but it's a long RNA. mRNA is a coding RNA, but it is again a long RNA. So this is a RNA-RNA interaction in with having long sequence size. So what is the LNCRNA? It's a versatile molecule. It have a role in cancer and other diseases. Like the functionality of LNCRNA is having splicing control, RNA editing, strophin mediated decay, and no miRNA mediated effect. Now, how does LNCRNA regulate this coding RNA? Because we are talking about target prediction, so that means LNCRNA regulating mRNA. So how this happens? The target coding genes, that is mRNA, to regulate different functions. Hence, identifying its target mRNA is an important step in predicting the function of these molecules. Now, as we are talking now from the expression data to a sequence data, so where we can gather this sequence information, I am just giving some slides regarding that source of data. Like there is 1000 Genomes Project, there is Cancer TCGA database, there is genome aggregation database, there is ICGC, from where we can get the sequence informations. There is NCBI, which is a very primary database having sequence read archive, SRA database, EGA database. Few of them are open source and few of them are you have to pay for that. NIH more resource, ICGC DC portal. So these are the tissue data, different for different tissue data for human. We can gather information from here for the analysis. This is gene expression omnibus, which I have discussed. These are the experiments which people conduct, and these are the repository which you can upload your information or you can extract the information from there. So these are the information which is essential to while upload your analysis, and these are the information which you can fetch, that is using FTP or HTTP protocol. Now, few more slides. Now, when you download, how will it look? These are the SRA data information, sequence information. So sequence information to FASTQ files. FASTA files are FASTQ files. So there is you have to dump these FASTA files into SRA into FASTQ files. Then we can see that FASTA files like ATGC. So you have to align that FASTA files into the STEM file or BAM file, then for further analysis. So I'm not going in detail. These are the very basic introductions. So if you, because you have to align with the genome, because when you are working with the human data, you have to align with the human genome. So you can, there is a reference genome is there, so you can download the human genome and you can align with the necessary experiment data. Now coming to the topic again, so I have taken the information from Zhang et al, where I have LNCRNA transcript information, that is 311 transcript information that there, and mRNA transcript information, that is 423. So I know this 300 and 423 is having some information. So what I did, the total number of possible interaction is 311 cross 423, that is 1,31,553. But among these 1,31,553 interactions, only experimentally verified interactions are 1675, and then I don't know about the leveling of 1,29,878 data, where their interaction is exactly really happens or no. Okay, because no one have tested, so that means it's an unleveled data. So what I did generate one computational architecture for target prediction, namely the LNCRNA target. So what user has to give? User has to give two sequences. That is, one is LNCRNA sequence, another one is mRNA sequence. So I did some feature generation approach, feature selection, training data set, then reconstruct the training data set, because here I will discuss why I go for reconstructing. Then before predicting modeling, and finally I have designed one binding probability. I have assigned one binding probability to mark the interaction confidence, whether this LNCRNA interaction is really interacting with mRNA or not. If they are interacting, what is their confidence of binding probability? So with the help of feature generation, what are the features I have taken? That is sequence features, having composition features like mononucleotide, dinucleotide, trinucleotide, tetranucleotide compositions. I have considered length also for LNCRNA and mRNA. Energy features I have taken, that is accessible energy of the sequence, like hybridization energy. When they are interacting, what the hybridization happens. So any energy is emitting, what is the energy? Structure profiles, if you know stem loop structure, bulge, hairpin, all the structures are there. So different loop structures are there. So I have considered all those things. Then these are the existing tools for RNA-RNA interaction. But what is the pitfall of this? Existing tools are, majority of these tools are not specific for LNCRNA, mRNA interaction. Only for RNA. That means some are for mRNA, small RNA, LNCRNA, small RNA, all these things. So there is no quantitative information regarding this accessibility of this query and the target sequence. Now it is essential to identify all the accessible segments of query and target before commencing the target prediction analysis. Because if it is not accessible, how will you know this is LNCRNA is targeting or mRNA or not? First, you have to identify accessible sequence of LNCRNA and accessible sequence of segments of mRNA. So then I designed one algorithm that is called AccessE, which is to detect the accessible segments of LNCRNA and mRNA interactions. Now, what is the accessible energy? It is the energy required to prevent the segments from forming intramolecular base pairs. Now, what this is a sequence, and when it is binding itself, because G is binding with C, we know this is the oval pair UG. So the G is binding C. So when this is binding itself inside this single sequence, that is called intra-binding, intramolecular binding. And when this happens, it generates high accessible energy. And when the high, and here you see this is the free and having low accessible energy. So what we understood, the segments with high accessible energy, that means already binded, are forming intramolecular base pairs. And suppose a new sequence will come, suppose here a new sequence will come, this will not go for binding, and whereas the chance of binding with this sequence is high. That means if it is low accessible energy, that means the intermolecular binding chances will be high. I have computed this accessible energy using the equations given in Fukunaga et al. So the accessible energy of segment AB of a sequence X can be calculated as minus RT, gas constant, temperature, logarithm, stem probability between AB. We will discuss how stem probability will calculate. The stem probability is calculated with the equation with this. And we have considered all the structures, that is the loop regions where SAB, between SAB is possible, which is a subset of the entire sequence, that is the S of X. So the method here, computational approach is, I have identified, initialize the base pair span. Now, what is base pair span? Suppose this is a sequence having nucleotide length 1 to n, or n nucleotide length sequence. Now, this nucleotide, that is P, is going to binding with Q. If it is immediate, there should be some distance between P and Q so that they can form binding. So what is that distance? That distance is known as maximal base pair span. So how to identify base pair span? How we have identified, I will discuss later. So we have to initialize base pair span, then the sequence, either LNCR or mRNA. You calculate the stem probability of a nucleotide, each nucleotide present in the sequence. Suppose this is n nucleotide, I have calculated each and every nucleotide stem probability. How? This is the equation, that is stem probability of nucleotide I is equal to Ji, that is suppose P between 1 to P of 1 2 plus P of 2 1, all the possible probability. Further, I have put the condition, if it is a less than 0.5, probability less than 0.5 means it is accessible. If it is probability greater than 0.5, because that's why it is binding, so that is inaccessible for intermolecular interaction. So while doing this, mark the consecutive accessible nucleotides and store in a segmented array, and evaluate the accessible energy of each segment with segment-based pair span. Now, sum of this accessible energy of each segment with having length greater than 5, because this is a loop structure if it is forming, so I have considered as the 5. Minimum 5 consecutive nucleotides should be there. Accessible segments nucleotides should be there, so that consider that is really accessible segment. Now, from here, I have generated one hypothesis that segments of an RNA sequence with less accessible energy is more favorable to interact with other accessible segments of another RNA. Now, the accessibility of a nucleotide at position I in a given sequence is equal to 1 minus P stem of I. Because if it is accessible, then means 1 minus P stem of I. If stem probability of a nucleotide is low, that means it is accessibility is high. Okay, so it can bind with the other nucleotide sequence, other RNA sequence interaction. Now, to do this, to identify this base pair span, so what is the optimal base pair span? I have taken the experimental interactions, experimentally verified interactions reported in LNCTAR and LNCR inter. 10 experimental interactions and 183 experimental interactions when we have been reported. So I have considered 25 to 200. Why I have considered this 25 to 200? Because the small nucleotide, small RNA are up to 25 to 31. So I have considered from 25 to 200. Why 200? Because the LNCRNA length is greater than or equal to 200. If I go beyond that, then it will be again biased. So I have considered from 25 to 200. In that region, I have to break the sequence to identify the accessible segments. So the minimum accessible energy of an LNCRNA and mRNA are forming corresponding base pair span has been calculated. And from that data, I have marked it 9C. This is the accessible energy graph of LNCRNA and accessible energy analysis of mRNA. Suppose BACE1 is antisense of BACE1, which is an LNCRNA, is targeting with the BACE1. And BACE1 length is 2051, mRNA length, that is BACE1 is 4082. So how this minimum accessible energy is generated? Because using this 95, this LNCRNA is generating, this is the minimum accessible energy out of 25 to 200, over 25 to 200. So I have marked all the maximum pair where this minimum accessible energy is reported, identified. Then I have plotted and see that only one, that is 65, everything is beyond 95. I have only considered here the LNCTAR, and I have seen the same result with the LNCR inter also, which make us to initialize this base pair span analysis with cutoff value 95. So using 95, this is an LNCRNA HIF1AS1, and which is targeting to HIF1A. Okay, which is an mRNA protein coding gene. So these are the segments from 22 to 27. There is a 5 nucleotides, 77 to 72. Greater than 5, at least 5 or greater than 5 is possible for considering it is accessible or not. So at least it has to be 5 nucleotide segments. So that means what? This accessible segment can bind with any of these accessible segments. I'm not saying this every accessible segment will bind with this accessible segment, but these accessible segments can bind with any accessible segments of this identified mRNA. Okay. Now, comparison with the accessee, which I have designed with other algorithms for the evaluation of accessible energy, which is a RESS is for small RNAs, pre-mRNA because it's too long. Parser is okay, but why? How SCC has improved over Parser? It identifies the accessible energy of accessible regions only. I'm not considering the inaccessible regions. Hence, the time of execution is faster. Okay. So here to conclude this work, accessible detects accessible sites of LNCRNA and mRNA and calculate accessible energy of a sequence, which is an initial step for LNCRNA target prediction. And we have I have presented this paper in SMIT. The additional features which I am talking about is thermodynamic property of secondary structure. The LNCRNA regulates mRNA by forming base pair with each other. That is RNA-RNA mode of interaction. So stability of the duplex structure, this is a stable. This is the inherent unstable. So unpaired state, paired state. So the stability of the reaction depends upon the change in free energy of the system. That is the Gibbs free energy we have discussed. That is del G equal to del H minus T del S. So I have taken the nearest neighbor energy parameter value, and I have calculated computing the hybrid energy values. Just like this one example I have put it over here. And two, while calculating, I have not considered the intramolecular base pair. Only I have considered the intermolecular, two different RNA. Apart from this hybrid energy, I have also calculated the interaction energy. This is that suppose a m number of accessible segments of LNCRNA, n number of accessible segments for mRNA, and the total hybridization energy between the all accessible segments between LNCRNA and mRNA. This is the interaction energy. Among the other features, I have calculated the segment count, GC percentage, relative GC percent. Relative GC percentage is calculated ratio between the number of G plus C in the binding segment of the LNCRNA to the mRNA segment. Relative accessible length ratio, that ratio between the length of accessible segment of a sequence to the total length of the sequence and the length of the sequence. So in this way, I have identified 13 features which can be considered as LNCRNA target prediction analysis. Now, for using this univariate feature selection technique and the correlation method, I have screened down these selected feature selection technique, and I have selected only 8 independent features which can be considered for LNCRNA target prediction after removing the correlation. I have come across, while going with this, I have come across this positive unlevel learning, because see, I have already discussed that I have only experimental positive interactions, and regarding this unlevel data, I don't know what is their level, whether they are positive or negative or whatever the things, I don't know. So this is an ensemble approach to solve the positive and unlevel class problem. Different applications of PU learning exist, and two-step learning is one such. Step 1 is detection of reliable negative, that is the negative can be confidently labeled as negative from unlabeled data points. And step 2 is positive and reliable negative data points are combined to standard classifier and applied into the remaining unlabeled points. I had come across with the raw ride regarding his block with this concept. Then I have went through this reliable negative data set. For this, I have used one class SVM, which is a variation to the conventional SVM method to identify and because it is unsupervised learning techniques and isolation forest. So using these two techniques, I have identified the sorry. So total number of unlabeled data is 1,29,878. Predicted positive using OCSVM is 1,08,000 and negative is 20,900. So predicted negative using OCSVM, predicted negative using isolation forest is 361. So what are the common present here? That is 3,487. So I have marked them commonly predicted negative 3,487. Reported experimentally positive is 1675. So total number of interaction is 5,162 for my training data set. Now the number of reliable negative data points are higher. See, number of reliable negative is higher than the positive ones. So what I did, I have designed free-beam set program. So truthfulness of the reliable negative is unknown, because again I'm talking this is reliable negative. Are they really negative? I don't know. So intentionally more number of positive data points are kept in each point. So 600 data points I keep for test data set. That is 1675 minus 300 is 1375 in each positive data, and rest 3187 is distributed in 3 different bins, so that each time having 3 bin having 2437, 2437, 2438 data. I have come across now the predictive modeling approach. So I have to use 2 different techniques. That is, one is PU bagging, another one is binary classification. So PU bagging is a variation to bagging. With PU problems, it specifies the creation of the training set using the positive points and randomly sample taken with the replacement from the unlabeled points considered to be negative. And binary classification, which we all know, logistic regression, SVM, decision tree, random forest, light GBM. So the binary classification model and ensemble Pew-Baking models are trained with 3 different training bin set, and the consensus model has been generated from the average of the 3 independent sets model. So the performance analysis has been tested with the 600 validation set, which I have kept separately. So from here we can see that Pew-Baking with the light GBM, which is a ensemble technique having accuracy high, F1 score high, ROC high, and Jordan's index high. Why Jordan's index? Jordan's index I have used here because it evaluates the algorithm's ability to avoid the failure. It equally weights the algorithm's performance on positive and negative examples. So higher the Jordan index, that is the chance of avoiding failure. Because here we are not sure about the negative data set, so I have used this to identify this. So how it is calculated? That is calculated with the difference value of sensitivity minus 1 minus specificity. So this is the ROC curve. Here also the Pew-Baking with light GBM 0.9 and 60, and using this gain and split parameter, we have identified that the mRNA length, the GC percent of LN7, and the hybridization energy, which is happening between the accessible segments of LN7 and mRNA, is crucial for LN7 and mRNA target prediction. Now further, I went ahead to identify the binding probability. So the probability of the LNCRNA binding to its target is calculated using the pre-trained models. The bias which occurs over here during the training, that means why it happens, because a more number of experimentally positive data. So what I did, I neutralized by giving the equal weight to both the classes. How? Removing the bias, that is experimental positive data to each bin, to the relative negative data multiplied by 0.5, so that I can remove the bias. Then I have, in that way, I have identified the cutoff 6.67. That means if LNCRNA mRNA binding probability is greater than 0.67, that means it is chance of binding probability is high. If it is below 0.67, that means less chance of binding probability between LNCRNA and mRNA. So the binding probability ranges from 0 to 1, as we know that 1 is having highest confidence of predicting and to be interacting. So this work, I have designed a web server for LNCR multi-binding multi-BT paired. This is a tool to predict multiple binding sets between LNCR and mRNA. And this manuscript we have just recently communicated. What it does, after giving the sequence information, it calculates the total accessible energy of LNCRNA, mRNA, hybrid energy, total interaction energy, also the dot bracket structure. Dot means it is not binding, bracket means it's binding. And this is a sequence where it is binding, starting position, ending position, and what is the hybridization energy. Now I will come to the third work, that is the genome variant analysis. So we know that these variants are moving, like we are talking in about the COVID, so variants are there. So that is about single nucleotide polymorphism, SNP, SNBs, copy number variations. These are the genomic variant analysis. Okay.
Excuse me,
so
Dr.
There are tools. Yes, sir.
Can it be completed within next 2-3 minutes? Can it be completed within next 2-3 minutes?
Yes. I'll try.
Or we can go ahead next week also if it is long.
I'll try.
Okay.
So there are existing protocols like GATK or haplotype colors. Okay. So this is the variant colors VCF files. Okay. So how it looks like, it's the header and these are the variant files. So with chromosome, position, and the ID, which is the variant reference, that is A is altered to T. This is the variant. Okay, these are the information, how the VCF file looks like. So what I did, that if there is a SNP present in the LNCRNA sequence that distort the structure, if it distort the structure, the targeting also disappears. So I have designed a non-GATK based protocol, okay, design protocol, which is computationally faster over the GATK, which is a well-known protocol for variant detection. And I have identified for breast, cervical, and ovarian cancer samples. And this non-GATK pipeline, which has been constructed using opossum and platypus, reduces significantly. See here, this GATK pipeline is 2 or 35 minutes. Using non-GATK, it is 15 minutes. Also, It is not the only time less, but here we can see number of annotated variants are 4979. Here the number of annotated variants are more. Also here number of novel variants are more. Here novel variants are less. This work we have published in LNCRNA V2 under clinical SNP, clinically significant single nucleotide polymorphism in LNCRNA base V2. The last work which I am discussing is circular RNA. Circular RNA is this. There are different types of circular RNAs. Like this is single exonic, multi-exonic, or exonintronic and intronic exonic. So there are different tools based upon the mappers. Okay, based upon the de novo detection, de novo or annotation. If annotation is given, how will you identify? If annotation is not given, how will you identify? Based upon that, the tools have been identified. So what I did, I have identified 3 different tools, and I have tried to identify what are the number of circular RNAs present in there. See here, 4068 common circular RNAs are there. Even time also varies. This SEF2 more circular RNA, this high time, less circular RNA, less time. So this is the enrichment of the circular RNA in the disease system. You can see I have taken the cervical cancer sample data. Here we can plotted the colorectal cancer, breast cancer, gastric cancer informations of circular RNA and the frequency of the circular RNA, also the circular profile across the human cancer. So this complex junction is identification in circular RNA is important, and presently I am working on that. And to summarize this work, I have successfully identified the molecular players and their regulatory effect in disease system, which identified the molecular drivers, that is mRNA in ovarian cancer system, functional role of molecular drivers, that is LNCRNA, and SNPs containing LNCRNA in breast, ovarian, and cervical cancer system. I have identified the circular RNA in cervical cancer system. These are my references. These are my publications. I am thankful to my supervisor, Dr. Jumur Ghosh, and my lab mates for giving support during my PhD tenure. I'm thankful to my funding agency, DST and SERB, and I'm open to for any questions. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Subban. Really, it was very extensive work you have done, and we wish you best for your future endeavors into this field. So, should I post the poll now?
Yes, yes, sir. Please, sir. Please.
Okay. So, I'm just launching the poll. And the question is, which of the following is correct regarding genomics? And the options given are, it includes mapping of the genome, it includes genome sequencing, it includes genome analysis, all of the above. So 19 seconds, 20 seconds past, 38, 40% voting is done. I request all the participants over here, all members, to kindly vote for this question. We are nearly reaching 45%. We will be closing it at 1 minute, only 8 seconds are left. But still it is not reaching up to 50%. Just waiting for 1 or 2 seconds now, it's only 49% yet. Okay, now closing it, 50% is there. I'm sharing the results. So you can see that the first one, it includes mapping of the genome is 30%. All of the above is 61%. It includes genome sequencing 7%, and it includes genome analysis 2%. So what is your opinion, Dr. Shibun, on this response?
So comparative genomic analysis is include the sequence analysis, mapping of the sequence to the genome, and which signifies it is all of the above. So thank you for
so it
the
means
people
61%
who have
is correct. 61% correct answer, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to find any question if it is there. Yes, there are some comments, positive comments regarding the presentation. And yeah, one question is there from Dr. Sovan Saha. Is there any reason to select only those interactions from string DB which have confidence scores greater than 500? variation of
Yes.
this parameter will affect the result.
Yes. So there is a reason, sir, why I have taken the confidential of interaction of 500, because when we go through the Spring database, we will see there is an experimentally verified interactions. That means this protein is interacting, protein A is interacting with protein B. Experimentally, they have verified. If their interaction confidence is low, that means their chance of interaction is low. So if initially I will take the low interaction confidence data set, it will be biased with my analysis. So that is the reason I have marked, because the confidence score ranges from 0 to 1000. So that's why I have considered only those confidence interaction scores that is from 500, at least from 500 above.
Okay. So I hope the question is answered properly. Madhusudan Abade is saying, thank you, sir, for very good presentation. Krishanu
Thank you, sir.
Deyasi is asking a question. I have two questions from the first part of your work. What are the
Yes.
sizes of these network graphs? And second one is, have you considered directed networks for finding shortest distance, as gene regulatory networks are directional?
Yes, no, it's a not directional. It's a kind of the suite. I'm going to that topic before it will be easy for me to answer over there. Okay. Okay. See, here, if you see, I have the, when I'm calculating the shortest path is 20 lakh shortest path for this control versus test one, and here 25 lakh shortest path. So when it is difficult to project that in a genomic viewer, so what I did, I have filtered the shortest path, because if I filter the shortest path, there is a technique, because if it is a differentially regulated gene, that means that shortest path is important, that gene is important itself. So that way I have reduced to 1 lakh and 2 lakh. Again, that is also huge. That is the reason why I go with the common shortest path, where I found the 62,800 genes, and from the 62,800 genes, I have identified the gene-gene interaction network, and then it is can be easily plottable. This is my answer to the first question. And the second question which sir has been asked, see, this is not directed, because when you, that is an undirected graph, there is no specific that you have to travel from A to B. You can travel from B to A also. In that way, if you travel from B to A, so I can consider B as my pivot gene, because sometimes you have to consider fixed node, that is source and target. That is the reason I have marked here, this is my source and this is my target. And because we are talking about disease progression, we always move from normal to the disease state. We can't say that it's from disease state to normal. So you can say if you are working in a different environment. So that is the main answer to this question.
Okay. I hope the answers are well enough satisfying the question. So some positive comments are there. Sandhya Mandal, nice presentation. And many more comments. Professor Anand Kumar Chatterjee is saying very complex, at least for me. So definitely it's a very extensive work, extensive research work. So I'm not finding any further question. And Dr. Shibun, thank you very much for this presentation. I thank you all, the IEM UEM family member, for participating in this meeting. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for patiently listening.
Thank you, Dr. Shivan. Bye.